You wouldn't believe it, but we've been doing our business in a cassette toilet for over 5 years now. In fact, if you Google cassette toilet tips, this face is going to show up. Even my wife's face is going to show up. It's not what we thought we'd be famous for, but here we are. And since folks come up to me in the campground and literally call me Cousin Eddie, can you guess the #1 question they ask me about the cassette toilet? Well, how often do you need to empty that thing? And the answer, as with all things, is, well, it depends. It depends on how many people are riding with you in your RV. It depends on whether you're at a campground and you can use public restrooms all the time. And believe it or not, it depends on how much you eat and how much you drink. And if you're feeling well or if you're sick, there are a lot of things it depends on. And I thought, I know how long we go between emptying our cassette toilet, but I wonder, those who have them and have had them for a while, how long do they go? So I created a survey and I put it up there. And today I want to share the numbers with you. I think you'll be surprised. So I created a survey that asks the question, how often do you empty your cassette toilet, a cassette Cousin Eddie, when you're traveling? 14% said every day. 32% said every 2 days. 35% said every 3 days. And believe it or not, 18% of those I surveyed said every 4 days or maybe even every 5 days. So what did we learn from our survey? Well, 75% of the people who responded said they could make it between 2 and 3 days between emptying. And Lynn and I fall in those numbers too. We can usually make it 2 to 3 days between emptying our 5-gallon Thedford cassette toilet. Now, we have on occasions gone 4, maybe even 5 days between emptying it. But to tell you the truth, that's really pushing it. And there have been occasions where we've emptied it every day just because it was convenient. But most of the time, I count on emptying our toilet every 2 to 3 days. Well, that's the #1 question we get. But the #1 comment we get all the time when folks see us emptying is, I could never own an RV or a van that doesn't have a black tank because I could never empty it that often. I wouldn't like that. So I look at them and usually ask, how often do you empty your black tank on your conventional RV if you're not plugged into like a sewer connection? And the answer is every 3 to 4 days. And when I tell them that we empty ours every 3 to 4 days as well, they kind of look at me like I'm crazy. Now, I'd be the first to admit to you that having a cassette toilet is totally different than a black tank. But the truth is, we empty it just about as often as we did our black tank. The reason why? We conserve more. We make use of public bathrooms a lot more than we did when we had a motorhome or an RV that had a black tank. And from what we've learned from other folks that have one, they do the same things too. And I don't know, is that a bad thing to have less to empty? It's up to you. So if your excuse for not having an RV or a van that has a cassette toilet is that you're going to have to empty it more often, well, I'm sorry, but you're going to need to find another excuse. Maybe it smells more when you're emptying it. No, that's not it either. You need to find a different excuse. Maybe it's that it's messier. I don't know if you've ever had an RV sewer hose that had a hole in it or it came disconnected. Dealing with 5 gallons that might be a spill versus 30 gallons that's in a black tank, I would tell you, you probably need to get a different excuse because it's not messy. And maybe your excuse is it's not as sanitary as having a black tank. I don't see how folks get that, but even so, I have a video that I'll link up here and down in the description that is entitled How to Empty Your Cassette Toilet Without Spilling a Drop. It has a lot of views and people use that method all the time. And I can tell you from experience that it is very, very, very rare that I even spill a drop. But when I pull that hose out and I've got stuff running everywhere from other RVs, I could never say that because there's always touching and rinsing and everything else. So I don't think it should be that it's more sanitary. And finally, if your excuse is, I just don't like things to change, I like them to stay the same, well, I can't argue with that. And you know, in a lot of ways, we're comfortable with what we're comfortable with. And I'm not here to tell you that the fact that you don't want an RV with a cassette toilet is wrong, because it's probably not wrong for you if you feel that way. But I just want to make sure that you know that if your reason is you have to empty it too often, there are a bunch of people in this survey that would tell you that's not true. Or if your reason is it smells too bad, or it's just not sanitary enough, or it's just too messy, I'm here to tell you that that's not a reason too. Once you become comfortable with doing this, it's starting to rain and I still have to walk this over and empty it and put it back. But if you're thinking also that this may be too complicated, then right up here, I'll put a video where I taught my sweet wife to do this chore that's usually on my list. And it's something that she can do. And many others have used that to learn that anybody can do this. Thanks for watching this video about a crappy subject. And I hope I see you at a dump station one of these days soon. I'll be the one doing a cassette Cousin Eddie.